Hey there, your favorite part-time yapper is back, and today we're going to be talking about Masters Madrid's format as well as do some pick'ems for round 1 in today's video. First off, I have to say I love this format with the integration of the Swiss stage. There are some things that stuck out to me as odd and popped other ideas I want to discuss about Valorant's future formats altogether. But for now, let's talk about Masters Madrid. The Swiss style format has been used in other games like CSGO in the past, and it will work by the first place teams in each region facing the second place teams of other regions. So for round 1, there will be no regional matchups. Off the bat, it seems Riot is playing into that international rivalry among fans. It's no secret people said EMEA was a one-team region because of Fnatic's dominance, as well as people pointing out that other regions were the weakest and could never beat them. This format is a great way to measure that and make it easier to see how the top teams in each region do against each other. Also, even though I find it kind of funny, could you guys chill on Asuna a little bit? You guys are absolutely frying him in the comments. He was just trying to hype up his team and his region. What did you want him to say? He has the worst team in the worst region? Regardless, after round 1, all the orgs that won will be placed in a different group to compete while the losers will battle it out. Both are going to be randomly drawn to see which teams face each other in round 2. It's a race to see which team will get 2 wins, which will ensure that they move on versus which teams will get 2 losses, which means their tournament run ends. This style makes it so that the minimum number a team will play is 2 while the maximum is 3. Then we move on to your typical double elimination bracket style competition. Overall, it's pretty cool, but some of you may have noticed that since the golden number in the Swiss stage is 2 and there's only 8 teams, it's somewhat similar to a double elimination bracket, with the only difference being that teams will not know who they play till Riot randomly draws their opponent. This is one of the fun aspects of this tournament where fans get to see the live draws and react together. Riot has done live drawings before. Well, kinda for champs. I don't know if it was a pre-recording that they showed live or if it was actually broadcasted in real time. Regardless, this is a call to action for you all. I'm sure you all seen those comments asking for a replay system, and I want us to do the same thing but for these live draws. I think we can actually get this done, and it will make future events more fun too, where they may do live drawings when we get more teams in the tournaments as well. This leads me to the next odd thing that I remembered about this event, which is that only 8 teams are invited, making this the shortest Masters in Valorant's Tier 1 history. I think a part of this is because Riot wants to test and see how engaged they can keep fans. Leo, head of Valorant esports at Riot Games, explained this pretty well when he was on Plat Chat.
And as you know, I've talked about this a number of times. We're always concerned about viewer fatigue, which is a big deal. And the final thing I think it's important to talk about is, if you look at the way we designed the calendar and all the competitions, every tournament, every competition in esports, the viewership chart, it's like a smiley face. It starts high with a peak because of the novelty. People want to see teams playing for the first time and the new rosters. And then it dips at the middle of the tournament. And then as you start to get to resolution, elimination, playoffs or not, it ramps up again because of course people want to know who's going to win. And when you stretch any of those blocks of competition, you're actually stretching the valley, not the peaks, right? So I saw a lot of people asking like, why can't we have 2 full round robins? Why like a 5-week stage instead of a 10-week stage? Well, if you stretch it to 10 weeks, you have a long deep. So our answer to that is we focus on shorter cycles, right? We want to have a bunch of shorter cycles. So we want to have like kickoff 2 weeks, and then you have Masters Madrid 2 weeks, and then you have stage 5 weeks, and then you have Shanghai 2 weeks, and then you have stage 2 5 weeks. You know what I mean? Like shorter cycles that gives more trophy lift opportunities, more peaks, more re-entry points for fans.
There's a lot of pros to this, which could lead to higher fan commitment throughout a tournament from beginning to end. It also saves Riot, the teams, and players money too, since they're not spending as much time in a different country. However, one of the cons which I alluded to earlier is that it makes the Swiss stage very similar to a double elimination bracket, with just a hint of mystery depending on when they announce the draws for the next round. They could have increased the number of teams invited or the win condition, but both would result in a longer tournament, which may have went against what Riot wanted to do. However, this shorter tournament may be better for spacing and rest for top teams. Last year, Fnatic complained that there wasn't enough time in between events for them to game plan and come up with new ideas. So teams last year who constantly made it far into tournaments were basically at a disadvantage for the next event, as well as more likely to experience burnout. 8 still feels like a small number to me, but I think Riot wants the year to feel more like a build up to champs. where the next Masters will have 12 and end things with 16. So we're seeing an even increase of 4 teams invited to international play. I think most will agree that 12 to 16 is a sweet spot for Valorant tournaments, but even then, it made me realize that only 16 out of the 44 teams are heading to champs. This number is only going to increase. This is what Riot originally showed us before VCT China was announced. It seems that they want to limit the number of teams in Tier 1 Valorant to 14 per region. Let me know down in the comments below if Riot ever said they plan on changing the number of teams per region. I tried to look around, but this graphic was all I could find. Nonetheless, if we add China's numbers, it's projected that we'll have 56 teams. So a little bit less than 30% of orgs will make it to champs, if only 16 continue to be invited by 2027. To put that in a smaller context, in the Americas, only 4 out of 14 teams in the future will get to champs, despite it being such a competitive region. Champs is also where participating teams get a nice payday from the bundle. They could just increase the number of invites, but then you run into the possible fan engagement issue where we mentioned earlier that the longer an event goes on for, there's less commitment that Riot sees. This also means that there will be more regional games too. But not every region is equally popular, like EMEA, who had lower average viewership for kickoff despite lasting longer than Pacific and less than Americas. I'm sure Riot will have plans for this though. I think they're one of the best gaming companies that listens to the community and apply changes based on teams as well as us players' feedback. They're also one of the few to offer such a large split from their digital goods, as well as let esports teams use their logos in-game. Something that games like Fortnite and Apex don't do, which results in their esports scene not growing as fast as it could. One of the last common complaints that we've been hearing is about champions points. Only winners from kickoff tournaments and masters gets points, while second and third place earns nothing. I kind of see the good and bad from this. The VCT season is a marathon, so you want to reward teams who are good throughout the year. Orgs like Gen G were red hot at the beginning of last year's season and then regressed towards the end. Maybe you don't want teams like that finding their way into champs because they got points in the beginning when the meta was different. Plus, the ones who are performing the best near the end of their season will make things more competitive. Or if certain teams get too many points in the beginning, then they don't take the rest of the games as serious and just use them for practice versus a team who's doing everything in their power to win those games for those points, which can still happen with how points work now. I don't think there will ever be a format or system that will make everyone happy. The best you can do is just learn and improve from the previous year. It still wouldn't hurt to give second and third place teams at Masters something and see what happens afterwards. So here are my pick'ems. Carmine Corp ended their kickoff strong by dismantling Fnatic, and they're going against FPX, who do have some heavy hitters, but I doubt it will be enough though. The only way I see Gen G beating Loud is if they use their time off properly to anti-strat them. They, just like PaperX, has the most rest time versus all the other regions. It'll still be an uphill battle, and I think Loud just has too many weapons. Edward Gaming versus PaperX is going to be a fun one. They played each other so many times in the past, and PaperX beats them quite often, so that's who I'm going to go with. I think Edward Gaming will still make it to the next stages though. Kang somehow has gotten even better. Lastly, we have Heretics versus Sentinels, which is going to be crazy, and I'm pretty sure many people's brackets would be messed up because of this matchup. If Boo and Miniboo can continue to prove that nepotism is one of the strongest forces in Valorant, then they can win this. I also think Heretics has a deeper map pool than Sentinels, but I'm still on that hopium, baby. So I'm gonna punch this in. Let me know how you feel about this format and who you have winning the first rounds. Till next time, stay safe, and I'll still be yapping in the next one.